Hi, welcome to another episode of Coffee Break. I'm Nathan Wilner with the National Creditors Bar Association, and I am excited to have a conversation this morning with two of my favorite folks that I talk to on a regular basis, Barb Nilsen and Wendy Weinhardt. Barb's with Blitt and Gaines, partnering one of the well-known creditors' rights law firms in our country, and Wendy with TransUnion, a small company people may have heard of before. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Barb to introduce yourself, and then we'll hear from Wendy. So Barb, good morning.
Good morning. Barbara Nilsen. I'm a partner chief compliance officer at Blitt and Gaines. I am also currently the NCBA president.
Oh yes, she's my president too. I forgot. And she's doing a fantastic job for the record. Um, and Wendy, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
Sure. Nathan, thank you so much for having me again. And Barb, nice to see you. So my name is Wendy Weinhardt. I am a solutions consultant here at TransUnion. I've been with TransUnion for about 4 years, came over as part of the New Start acquisition. Prior to the time here, I've been working at Capital One for about 23 years, doing a number of different things from customer acquisition to digital messaging, and then spent some time in the debt collection space, specifically helping Capital One stand up their both first and third party digital debt collection processes. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. So obviously both of you are very knowledgeable about the creditors' rights industry and about defaulted loans and debt collection. So many people think that the goal of pursuing debt collection in court is to get a judgment, but that's not the goal. The goal is trying to really resolve the underlying debt. So let me just start, Barb, maybe you could explain what's the lifespan of a judgment? What happens after you get a judgment? Do they expire? How long are they good for, and what can you do with them?
Yeah, so it kind of varies state by state. I would say the average in the 9 states that we currently work in, it could be usually from 10 to all the way to 27 years, a judgment can be valid. And, it's the usual. You're looking for some type of, if you can't work out an arrangement, then you have to look for some type of asset for execution. So you're able to file a wage garnishment in some instances, maybe a bank garnishment. You could property lien. We send a lot of settlement letters, campaigns, anything to try to start a conversation with the consumer because kind of as you said, we're not looking for the judgment. We're looking for a repayment arrangement.
Yeah, so many of those things you mentioned are involuntary type of recovery tools used through litigation, but you'd much rather have conversations with consumers and see if you can work it out. Isn't that's pretty much my understanding? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So, Wendy, my understanding is that TransUnion has a product or a tool or a strategy that some law firms have already used, and Barbara's firm is one of them, to kind of help with bringing people together. I know people don't think of debt collection as bringing people together, but TransUnion does. So, Wendy, why don't you tell us a little bit about that product and what does it do?
Sure. So it's our email behavior intelligence product. And essentially what we're trying to do is help law firms and other debt collection agencies identify the best email address for a given consumer. You and I, we all have, I'm assuming anyway, I have 5 different email addresses. I'm sure we all do. So really trying to identify not only the email addresses that are verified to the consumer, ones that are likely to be deliverable, but also the email address that the consumer is likely to engage on. Very similar to the conversation we were having in the phone channel, all of the internet service providers have algorithms that help prevent bad actors from making their way into consumers' inboxes. The internet service providers all have those same, those same things. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is help you identify those email addresses that are verified, deliverable, and likely to engage. And that gets you more likely to be perceived as a good actor and not a bad actor ending up in the spam folder and all of these negative things. So ultimately, that's what we're trying to help you accomplish.
So those old AOL.com emails and what were some of the other ones? Monster.com or I don't know. So those are what we're talking about. That people over the years had multiple emails,
Mhm.
and you don't update the information, things are getting bounced back. And, really the key is communication. So,
Believe it
what's
or
been,
not, 14% of people still use AOL.
yeah,
Seems like a crazy
no,
number, but yeah, still used.
they still charge, right?
Ah, gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I assume so.
I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah, I don't know.
So, but that goes to prove that some folks get very set in their ways, and some people move on.
Yeah.
So, what's been what have you been hearing from consumers? Would they and this is for Barb, would they rather be contacted by mail, phone calls? Is this what people want nowadays? What are you finding?
I think it obviously depends based on the consumer, but with a lot of the new fintech paper coming out, and you're seeing a lot of online loans, what you're seeing is a lot of consumers that are used to conducting their transactions and or their everyday life by email. And so if you think about it, even if you want to talk to somebody, it's almost, I would say it could be akin to a chat because you're still not on the phone with somebody. How many consumers want to pick up the phone and talk to somebody or spend a lot of time on the phone because we know how long it takes to read the disclosures that we have to read, that if you're reading in an email at your own pace could be a little bit shorter. And you're not sitting on hold when you're waiting to talk to somebody and or listening to those disclosures. You can send an email, we can respond to your email, and it's more at your convenience.
Mhm.
And I think that people find like phone calls maybe intrusive a little bit, but emails are looked upon differently. I think that it's the standard business way of communicating. I think people are more comfortable with that as well, right? Is that,
I would say absolutely, yeah. I mean, think about you contact a consumer and one of the first things you have to ask them is to verify the last four of their social and perhaps a date of birth. How many people are comfortable providing that information?
no, you hear about all the scams going on. Nobody is, right? Um, so here's the big question. How's it been going? Does this thing work? What have been the results? Has it been difficult to use? You know, Wendy, don't keep us waiting here. What's the
Sure.
big reveal? Yeah, so what are people saying about this product?
Yeah, so we did a test with Barb and Blitt Gaines, and so they tested about 7,500 of their accounts, and ultimately what we did is we broke out the email addresses into a couple different categories. From a verification perspective, we broke it into highly verified, moderate, low verification, or those that we believed would be a verification risk. And then we also looked at it on the dimensions of how highly contactable is this email address? Do we believe this person's using this email address a lot? So this is going to be a really, kind of your best quality email addresses, if you will. And then we sloped them down there to which ones we believed were risky to use, whether it was a verification risk, potentially the email address didn't belong to the consumer anymore, or a delivery risk where, that's potentially a spam trap, a hard bounce, things of that nature. And, Barb, I believe you found some great success with those emails. When we initially looked at the stats, I think you'd only been emailing maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the first time we'd looked at the stats. In that best category, you had an open rate of 40%. And in that delivery risk category where we deemed these are bad emails, you probably don't want to send them, we actually saw a hard bounce rate of about 50%. So there's a lot of differentiation in the email addresses and how they perform. And so that's really where you can help kind of differentiate your campaign on how you want to treat those different email addresses and how you work with the consumers. But Barb, I think you mentioned earlier that you had some updated stats to share with us as well.
Yeah, we were actually really excited to partner in this campaign. So we took 7,500 dormant judgments, and those dormant judgments varied between 7 and 10 years of age. So dormant judgments.
Yeah.
After we sent the email, so at this point in time, we send more than one email per file. We have a certain amount set for a week, depending on how the consumer behaves. But we've had a 52.8% open rate. And when we send an email, we provide a link to the consumer to go to our web negotiation portal, which allows them to either set up a payment plan, negotiate a settlement, some other items, and then make the payment online. We had a 2.45% click rate to pay on our web negotiator website, which we thought was just amazing on these judgments.
Mhm.
Overall, we felt that based on the numbers, the ROI, our campaign was very successful. We in, intend to continue with campaigns like this. Could not have been more excited with the numbers from this campaign.
I mean, that seems like, a grand slam home run, really does.
Considering these are files that we've called, we send our quarterly or biannually settlement letters or tax time letters, and nothing has happened. And then you see results like this, and you get a little excited. There's
Yeah.
another option out there to try to engage with the consumer and communicate.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's, I mean, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but I wonder if there's like uses for the same product earlier on in the process, you know, on the front end, to, enhance communication. Because the one thing that I can say, and this is true about many of the people in the industry that I talk to, and especially about NCBA members, they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They really do want to communicate with consumers to work it out. It's not just something tagline or anything of that nature. I mean, think about, this is an investment in time and resources and people, and our firms, Barb's firm in this example are doing it. They're not taking a different approach. The approach is they really want to work things out with the consumer, and I think that's an important message that members inside the industry and outside the industry need to know. So this has been great. So we're kind of getting to the end of my cup of coffee here. And I'm hoping that you're gonna join me again in the future. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm gonna give each of you the final word. So, Wendy, then Barb. Wendy, what's your closing statement about what we talked about today?
Sure. No, actually, I just want to thank Barb and the folks there at Blitt Gaines for all their effort into doing this test. I think they did a very well thought out, or they have a very well thought out email program. And I think that's one of the reasons they've had such great success. I think it's fantastic the way they've gone through it. There's a lot of pitfalls to using email, and they did a great job overcoming those and setting up a great program. So fantastic. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Barb?
Thank you, Wendy. I really enjoyed working with you. And I will say to anyone out there who is considering this product, it was very, very easy to work with Wendy. We were able to upload our file, turnaround time, it was less than 30 minutes. I think it might have been less than 15 minutes where we had our data and we were already looking through the emails and what to send and the information on what would be a hard bounce and or what will be impactful to your domain potentially. And all of these items that, right, as law firm owners, it's not, daily on my mind is, am I impacting my domain on my email address? But when you partner with somebody like TransUnion, who is helping you think through all of these things and providing you with all of the data you need to make this very easy decisions on what email address to use and which email address not to use, in order to protect, again, your domain and your law firm. It was it was very enjoyable, very
Yeah,
positive.
that sounds really great. So I'd love to talk more, but we got to go. And it sounds like the closing message is the same thing my parents told me: is make good decisions. And it looks like this product really helps you do that. So I think it's a win. And with that, have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.